Hello and welcome to another Rereadathon vlog. This is the February Rereadathon Reflections video. The prompt for February was to reread a book you haven't read in 10 years or reread a book that you don't remember very well. So I decided to go with the Circle Opens Quartet. I have the 4 books here, one of which I had to get from the library, and these count because I've read them, I think, in the last 10 years. I think I probably read them in like 2011 the last time, but I really don't remember them very well because I was never very attached to them. I pretty much read them to get to The Will of the Empress and kind of suffered through them a little bit. Like, not that they were bad, but they weren't particularly good either. They were just kind of like fine. So they didn't really stay in my head very much. Today I'm starting with Magic Steps. The bookmark is in it, but it's just placed randomly. I haven't started it yet. This is Sandry's book, book 1, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I think this is a murder mystery. Like, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I vaguely remember there being something called unmagic, if that makes sense. Like, people have magic and then one person has unmagic that's like nothing, kind of, in a way. And Sandry gets a student. These books, they all get students. They're 14 now. They were 10 in the first books. They're all 14, and they all find someone who has magic similar to theirs. Like, not necessarily the same kind of magic, but similar in the way that it's all done through a craft, kind of. Like, Sandry is a stitch witch. Her magic comes through thread and weaving. And she finds a boy who is a dancer and has magic to do with his dancing. And that's pretty much like what happens in all these books. They're a little bit formulaic, but I am hoping that they're at least okay, even if I don't particularly love them. It's already the 27th, but I am hoping to get through these rather quickly, finish at least the first one by the end of the month, but I'm going to keep doing this vlog while I finish the whole series, so hopefully it won't take me too long, but this will definitely not be going up until probably decently into March. I finished Magic Steps last night. Today is February 29th, so it is the very last day of February, but I got the first book read, which is all that matters. I gave this 3 stars. I do like it better than most of the first series, but it's still kind of about 3 stars for me. It's still one of those books that I kind of have to fight not to skim, and if you do skim this, you do miss a lot because it's very fast-paced. Like, things aren't necessarily explained well all the time, so if you miss like the 1-sentence explanation, you get kind of lost, and there were a couple points I had to reread just to be like, oh wait, what's going on here? But I did enjoy it all right. I think same rating as the first series for the most part, but just more positive feelings towards it, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say. The murder mystery aspect was kind of cool, but it's also something that I saw played out a lot more in depth in the Terrier books, Becca Cooper series that she wrote in the Tortel universe. It's very similar in some respects, which I think is interesting if you do read the Becca Cooper series first, because this one came out first. So it's interesting that she took so much inspiration from this book, or that she really liked writing this and decided to do a whole series of it. And today I'm going to get started on Street Magic, which is the second book. It's also the one I remember most because it's the one that kind of ties into the rest of the series the most. The other 3 books in this series are kind of one-offs. Like, you don't really deal with those people again. They might be mentioned, but they're not really, like, they don't become important. Whereas in this one, Effie, who's the girl here, if you can see that, she's Briar's student, and she actually becomes a part of the later books. I mean, the others might, but they aren't, you know, so far. But I do remember this one more. And then Daja's book and Triz's book, I don't remember at all. So I'm looking forward to those to see what they're like. This, I don't think I'm necessarily going to love, but hopefully I do enjoy it. I finished Street Magic last night. Today is March 1st, so I did finish it in February, which makes half the quartet done in February, which is progress, I guess, compared to January's. But I'm still gonna keep doing this vlog until I finish all 4 books. I give this one 3 stars. Like, I don't have too much to say, and I feel like I'm just repeating myself in these videos. Like, I like these books, I enjoy them, they're fun, but I always want something a little bit more. I always feel like they fall just short for me. This one deals with a character who comes back a lot in other books, Evie, who is this girl. She is Briar's student, and I'm not the biggest fan of her character, and I'm kind of not sure why of all the side characters in these books, she's kind of the one that was decided on that she would become a main character. I don't dislike her, I just like, I don't see her importance overall, and I don't love her character. So that's always been kind of like a kind of point for me in this book, just because I know she comes back, and that mildly irritates me. But I do enjoy like the gang warfare aspects of this book. I wish there was more exploration of it. I like the magic in it, although it does seem kind of less wild after reading like Sandry's book, because Sandry's book has like all kinds of weird magic in it, and this one is like Briar takes plants and makes them grow really fast, and I mean it's still like wild, but like comparatively speaking not so much. But I did 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I think it's fine. I'll be continuing on with Daja's book soon and taking a short break just because I can't binge read these books. They're a little bit too long for that, because they do get like up to 100 pages longer than the first quartet and all that. Like, I think Daja's book is like 350 pages, which is kind of a lot, but I am hoping to really enjoy that one. I have finished Cold Fire, which is the 3rd book, and it surprises me how much I enjoyed it. This was a solid 4 stars for me, much like Daja's book from the first quartet, which is strange because I gave both of Daja's books 4 stars, and they're the only book in each quartet. Well, I haven't finished the 4th book in this one. I haven't started it yet, but I kind of assume it will be 3 stars. Daja's books are so far the only 2 that I've given 4 stars. And it was both of them, and I don't remember having particularly strong feelings towards them. It was just a well-crafted book, and I was very interested, and I liked following it along, and it was just like, I read this in like a day. I was just like excited to read it, and I was stressed one day, so I just sat down and read and just like flew through the majority of the book. And like, that's not a bad thing. It was just kind of surprising, because even having read most of the series, Daja's still not one of my favorite characters. I don't dislike her by any means. I like all these characters. I think they're all well done, but Daja's not one of my particular favorites. It's just both of her books, I think, were the best, were better than the others in the series. So I don't know, like, I was expecting to give like some of these books 4 stars, but I didn't think the only 2 would be Daja, or potentially Shatter Glass that I'll read next, but probably not. I really liked it. And I think something I also realized while reading this and while thinking about the 4th book in the series is that all of these are mysteries to some degree. Like, not necessarily like mysteries. I think Briar's book is by far the least mystery thriller-ish of all of them, but Sandry's book deals with these 2 people who are trying to murder this merchant family, and this book deals with an arsonist who's setting fires, and none of them are kind of meant to be like plot twist thrillers. You don't know what's going on, you have to find out. Like, they're definitely like high fantasy magic first, but there is like a mystery crime element, which is really interesting, and I do enjoy that. I think it's done the best in this book, because like, you know who it is from pretty much not the very beginning, but early on, and it's just it's interesting the way it's explored. And I just really did like this book. I thought this book was well done. I thought it was interesting and fun, and it's the longest by far. I mean, by far. It's like 350 pages, where the other ones were like 280 to 300, and this was just like a bit longer, and I really enjoyed it. I read it the fastest that I think I've read any of these books so far, and it was just like a fun time. So this book alone kind of made the series worth it for me. It was like, oh yes, this is, I think, what they're all trying to be. They just fail a little bit. But finished that, and I will continue on with Shatter Glass, and haven't started it yet, but hopefully I'll get through this one fairly quickly, because we're, well into March, and I would like to get started on my March rereadathon pick. Welcome to the final update for this readathon. I did finish Shatter Glass. It only took me like a day or 2 to read. I kind of flew through it pretty fast, which was good. I did actually really enjoy this one. I'm still only giving it 3 stars, but it was like an actual like conversation in my head. Like, I did wonder about giving it 4, because I think I don't know. I'm going with 3, but it was a very high 3, and it was probably my second or my second favorite of this quartet and my third favorite of the 8 that I've read so far. It was really enjoyable, really fun. It is nice that these books are looking up quite a bit, and I don't know. I don't have too much to say about this. This was the one that was like most mystery thriller-ish because there are murders being committed, and this is the only book when you don't know who's committing the crimes. Every other book you're like, okay, this is what's going on, and you're kind of like in it for the magic bit. Whereas this is definitely like here for the magic bit, don't get me wrong. But there's also a lot more like who's committing these crimes? What's going on? And then the climax of the crimes is a little bit like anticlimactic just because it's like it's not about that. It really is about the magic, and the mystery crime elements are secondary, but it's still really fun, really enjoyable. I did quite like this, and it really left me wanting to move on to the next book in this series, which is The Will of the Empress, which takes place 4 years after this quartet, which is 4 years after the prior quartet. And it's like I got through all the kind of mediocre, okay, decent but not great books in the series, and now I want to read the book in the series that's amazing, because I love The Will of the Empress. I think it's a wonderful book, and it's like one of my favorites by Tamara Bierce, and I want to move on to it, but it's not on my schedule for like a few months, so not doing that. But I am glad to have finished. I do like that series. I think I like that one better than the first series, which is funny to say because I don't think I'd have said that before this reread experience, because I do remember the first one being better, but it's just like I struggled a lot more with the first one, I think. Whereas with this one, I did have my issues, and most of them were still 3 stars for me, but they were like a slightly more enjoyable 3 stars, and the story themselves were like a little bit more fun, and I liked them a little more. Except Briar's book. I think Briar's book from the first quartet was better than Briar's book from the second quartet, but otherwise I liked all 3 books better the second quartet. I like the other 3 books better in the second quartet. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Anyway, the prompt for March, because it's now like the middle of March and I need to get on that so that I'm no longer really behind on all of this. The prompt for March was to reread a book that is written or set before you were born, and I am going with Written on the Body by Jeanette Winterson, which is one of my absolute favorites. I think it's a beautiful book. It's beautifully written, and I'm very, very excited to read this. Let me know down below if you read anything for the February rereadathon, and if you're going to be reading anything in March, or if you've already reread something for March, because it is halfway through the month. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all again soon.